Why time slows in coherent lives. Some people seem to move through years without being worn down by them. Time passes, but it does not press as hard. Aging feels slower, softer, less aggressive. And the difference is not luck. It is not genetics alone, or discipline, or wealth. The difference is coherence, a quality of life that is easier to feel than to define, and that operates on biology in ways that are only now beginning to be understood. Researchers studying long-term aging patterns noticed this again and again. Individuals whose lives remained coherent aged differently, not dramatically longer, but measurably better. Recovery stayed intact. Decline arrived later. Resilience held. The holding was not effortful. It was the natural consequence of a life in which systems were not constantly being disrupted, in which the body could rely on a stable framework and invest its resources accordingly. To understand why this matters, we need to look at what coherence actually means biologically. Coherence is not simplicity, it is alignment. When roles, values, and routines point in the same direction, the nervous system reads life as predictable. Predictability is one of the most powerful signals the body can receive, because it allows the shift from defensive to constructive biology, from guarding against the unknown to building toward the future. In coherent lives, effort makes sense. Stress has context. Recovery follows contribution. The body understands why it is being asked to adapt and when it will be allowed to stop. This understanding is not cognitive. It is regulatory, built into the patterns of hormonal release, nervous system activation, and cellular signaling that govern the body's moment-to-moment allocation of resources. This clarity changes everything. Stress responses rise appropriately, then shut down cleanly. Inflammation resolves instead of lingering. Sleep completes its deepest cycles. Repair finishes its work. Each of these processes depends on timing, and coherence provides the timing that allows them to function at their best. In contrast, incoherent lives confuse biology, conflicting roles, mixed priorities, constant adjustment. The body cannot predict what comes next, so it stays alert. Recovery hesitates. The hesitation is not dramatic. It is a slight delay in the transition from effort to rest, a narrowing of the window in which repair occurs, a shallowing of the depth to which recovery reaches. Over years, these slight deficits accumulate into measurable differences in aging. What made this discovery powerful was subtlety. Coherent lives were not easier. They were often demanding, but demands fit within a clear story. Identity remained intact across change. The demands were not random or contradictory. They built on each other, creating a trajectory that the body could recognize and prepare for. Researchers realized that coherence acts like a biological stabilizer. It reduces unnecessary vigilance. It allows systems to invest in the future rather than guard against it. The investment takes many forms: deeper sleep, more complete repair, more efficient immune function, more robust stress recovery. Each of these represents a biological system that operates better when it is not competing with the demands of chronic uncertainty. This was the first indication that time itself feels different to the body depending on whether life holds together. In coherent lives, time is structured, marked by meaningful transitions and clear phases. In incoherent lives, time is undifferentiated, a continuous flow that the body cannot parse into manageable segments. And when life is coherent, time does not disappear. It simply stops rushing the body toward decline. As researchers examined coherence more closely, they found it was not about avoiding change. It was about integrating it. New roles did not replace old ones abruptly. They grew out of them. The growth preserved continuity, allowing the nervous system to update its expectations gradually rather than resetting them entirely. In coherent lives, transitions had meaning. Chapters closed before new ones began. identity evolved without rupture. The nervous system could update its expectations instead of resetting them. Updates are biologically inexpensive. Resets are costly, requiring the body to dismantle existing patterns and build new ones from scratch, a process that leaves the system vulnerable during the transition. Biologically, this preserved rhythm. Stress rose in response to challenge, then resolved. Recovery followed effort without delay. Repair pathways stayed efficient because vigilance was not constant. The efficiency was not the result of lower demand. It was the result of demand that arrived in a predictable pattern, allowing the body to prepare for it in advance and recover from it completely. People living this way did not escape hardship. They faced loss, pressure, and uncertainty like everyone else. But those experiences were processed, not stacked. The body was allowed to digest what happened. Each experience was absorbed into the ongoing narrative of identity, resolved, and released, freeing the resources it had occupied for use in the present. In incoherent lives, the opposite occurred. Change arrived before resolution. Roles conflicted. Values pulled in different directions. The nervous system treated life as unstable, even when things looked fine. The treatment was accurate in its own terms. From the body's perspective, a life in which demands are contradictory and transitions are abrupt is unstable, regardless of how it appears from the outside. This instability shortened recovery. Sleep fragmented. Inflammation lingered. Aging accelerated not from intensity, but from confusion. The confusion was not intellectual. It was regulatory, a state in which the body's systems could not agree on what was happening or what would happen next. What surprised researchers was how early coherence made a difference. Even in midlife, individuals who simplified narratives and aligned commitments showed slower biological aging within years. The speed of the response indicated that the body does not require decades of coherence to benefit. Even relatively short periods of alignment produce measurable results because the body is always ready to shift from defensive to constructive biology when the conditions allow it. This suggested that coherence is not a trait. It is a condition, and conditions can be created. The creation does not require radical life change. It requires alignment, the deliberate choice to reduce contradiction, to prioritize what matters most, and to allow the body to organize itself around a clear and consistent signal. The body does not require a perfect life to slow aging. It requires a life it can understand. The conflict emerges when coherence collides with modern design. Speed is rewarded. Multiplicity is praised. Holding many identities at once is seen as strength. The praise is not unfounded. The ability to navigate complexity is genuinely valuable. But the biological cost of maintaining multiple simultaneous narratives is real, and it accumulates regardless of how skillfully the complexity is managed. But biologically, too many simultaneous narratives create noise. The nervous system struggles to prioritize. Stress signals overlap. Recovery becomes fragmented. The fragmentation is not a failure of willpower or organization. It is a consequence of the nervous system's limited capacity to hold multiple open loops simultaneously. Researchers observed that individuals living in highly incoherent lives showed accelerated aging even without obvious stress. Their bodies stayed prepared, unsure which role mattered most. The preparation was distributed across too many targets, diluting the focused investment that any single role would have received in a more coherent life. Attempts to fix this often focused on balance, better time management, more efficient juggling. But coherence is not balance. It is alignment, choosing what takes precedence and letting other demands fall away. Balance attempts to give everything equal weight. Alignment accepts that not everything can carry equal biological significance and organizes life around what matters most. Those who restored coherence did something difficult. They said no. They reduced roles. They allowed some identities to end, so others could integrate fully. The saying no was not a retreat. It was a clarification, a signal to the body that the noise was over and that a clear direction had been established. When this happened, biology responded quickly. Stress rhythms regained clarity. Sleep deepened. Aging markers stabilized. The speed of the response reinforced what earlier findings had suggested. The body is not damaged by incoherence so much as disoriented by it, and the restoration of coherence provides the orientation the body needs to resume its natural processes of repair and renewal. The conflict, then, is cultural. Modern life offers infinite ways to be busy, but few ways to be whole. Longevity suffers in this environment, not from overload, but from disintegration. The disintegration is not collapse. It is dispersal, a scattering of attention and identity across too many simultaneous demands for the body to maintain a coherent response. And until coherence is valued as much as productivity, many lives will continue aging faster than they need to. The climax of this story is the recognition that coherence is not a luxury. It is the condition under which biology functions most effectively. The body does not need a stress-free life. It does not need a simple life. It needs a life that holds together, one in which the various demands and identities and responsibilities point in a recognizable direction. When they do, the body trusts the future, enough to invest in it. When they do not, the body hedges, conserving resources against an uncertain tomorrow. The resolution is not to eliminate complexity, but to organize it, to choose a central thread and allow other commitments to orbit around it rather than competing with it, to give the nervous system a story it can follow, a narrative in which effort leads to completion and completion leads to rest. This organization does not need to be rigid. It needs to be legible, clear enough for the body's regulatory systems to distinguish between effort and recovery, between challenge and resolution, between one chapter and the next. Longevity thrives in lives where coherence is maintained not through rigidity, but through alignment, where roles support each other instead of contradicting, where values are lived rather than merely held, where the body can predict, even roughly, what tomorrow will ask of it and prepare accordingly. Modern culture rarely encourages this kind of organization. It celebrates breadth over depth, novelty over continuity, optionality over commitment. These values are not without merit, but when they dominate completely, they create the biological noise that accelerates aging. The noise is not audible. It is physiological, a state of conflicting signals that prevents the body from settling into the rhythms that sustain health over decades. When coherence returns, time does not literally slow, but it stops pressing. The body stops racing to keep up with a life it cannot predict. Recovery deepens, repair completes, resilience holds. Aging continues, because aging always continues, but it moves at the pace that biology intended, rather than the accelerated pace that confusion demands. Because in the end, the body does not need life to be quiet. It needs life to make sense. And when life makes sense, time becomes something the body can inhabit rather than something it must endure. Why time?